Hey guys, welcome back to another video here doing a book overview on the latest Legend of Zelda book by Dark Horse. This is the Legend of Zelda Encyclopedia, which I recently got in the mail from Amazon. Another fantastic book that goes along pretty well with the previous released Hyrule Historia from Dark Horse as well, and the Legend of Zelda Arts and Artifacts, which is a beefier book. This served kind of like it was more of an art book of sorts, and then the Hyrule Historia was a more in-depth, I guess, description of the history of the Legend of Zelda games. But here we have the latest book, the Legend of Zelda Encyclopedia, which I've been waiting for a long time because of the excellent content that the book was supposed to give. As you can see, this one has a blue cover. It's a hard book. Obviously, we have the Master Sword in there and the Dark Horse publishing there with a brief description of the book here in the back. Very, very firm and nice quality. Of course, I got a couple dings here and there. Those are I guess, the risks of ordering this online through Amazon. But overall, a fairly good condition for this book. And without further ado, I'm just going to flip through some of the pages here to showcase the content of this fantastic book. Essentially, this goes in a very nice detail. It starts with showing the timeline, which it can also be found in the Legend of Zelda Hyrule Historia book. It has a brief, showcase of the history of Hyrule. And the first thing that we can see is, and this is like a common complaint that I have with these books, is the text and the pictures are very, very small. I wish the pictures and the text were a little bit bigger. In my opinion, it would have been better. And this is a common, I guess, occurrence in a lot of video game books. So I kind of wish they would add more pages and provide a bigger pictures and descriptions. I would definitely be glad to pay more money for that. But with that being said, obviously spoilers are to be found here in making this video. So please, if you haven't completed all of the Zelda games, watch this video at your own risk. And of course, we can see already a pretty big spoiler here for Twilight Princess. Revealing the true nature of the Twilight Princess. So anyways, the book is divided into different sections, and as you can see, we have a myriad of art from the Legend of Zelda games. We have a lot of the art that was concept art that was originally used. This particular chapter here goes over the different races, which is, I always found that very intriguing about the Zelda game. So we have the Sheikah, the Gerudo tribes, the Gorons, and just it goes in detail. So this is really in my opinion, the ultimate book to get if you're a Legend of Zelda fan. Here we have a race description for the Zora, the Kokiri, different races and types of people that you find throughout the game. Geography and nature. The games go, as you can see here, we have maps from A Link to the Past, different types of terrains, that Hyrule, the different versions of Hyrule for each of the games. And then we have the animals. It has a separate section on the animals, and of course, a lot of the familiar faces here. It even goes in detail about the fish in the game and catchable fishes. It has tables showcasing, a lot of the fauna and the flora of the game. Here we have the plants section. Again, it just cracks me up. They have all the different, things that you can cut in the game to get the rupees. And we have an insects section, life and culture, Hyrule Castle section, ranches, Castle Town. So as you can see, this has a lot of detail. Of course, and I found this to be very cool actually. It's the language section. So this actually provides a code for the Hylian language, depending on the game. So for example, here we have the Wind Waker, and there's a letter code that corresponds to our regular alphabet with the different symbols. So you can theoretically, if you read a message in Hylian, you can go back to this chart and decipher it, which I thought it was pretty cool. And that's something I already knew from previous I think developer interviews and producer interviews and whatnot, but nevertheless pretty cool to see the actual charts here. And then we have weapons and equipment, different renditions of the Master Sword. Fantastic detail. We have the shields, not only the Hyrule shield or the Hylian shield, but the different types of shields that you can get in different games. We have the masks, armors and accessories, bows and arrows, different weapons, the bombs, obviously, that are a pretty big staple. Other equipment, miscellaneous equipment, and then we have the rupees, including a chart there with the values for each color, color coded for each of the games. We have the musical instruments and melodies, all the ocarinas and harps and whatnot that you found throughout the Legend of Zelda games. Here we have the enemies. Spoilers, obviously. Here we see a lot of the final bosses, regular enemies here, the Choo-Choos, Octos, and then we have a database, an alphabetical archive of information. This is where this book gets pretty meaty actually. It goes over the towns and villages. We have renditions of Hyrule from the original Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. We have all the different towns, Kakariko Village, Kokiri Forest, and this is just a really nice trip down memory lane for me, as I have played most of the Legend of Zelda games, and just going back to this it's a blast, just breezing through this book or actually looking at it in detail. And unfortunately, like I said, that's one of the cons of this book. The pictures and the descriptions are very, very small, but nevertheless this is crammed with detail. This is, I guess, the closest that you can get to some sort of Wikipedia. They have the fan wikis online, where fans add descriptions of every item, and this is the closest thing that you can have on a physical form. So I really, really enjoyed the level of detail. Although, as I was gonna say, I was reading some people were complaining, some Zelda fans, that this should have had more detail than it already has. But when we talk about the Legend of Zelda fans, it's one of the hardest, I guess, fan bases to please. So we always have people that complain within the Legend of Zelda, fan base. So very hard to please. But in my opinion, this is a very, very nice book, very nice reference material. If you guys enjoy the Legend of Zelda games, and overall, you do have to have a pretty. I think that to get the most enjoyment out of this, obviously you would have to play this for a longer time, play most of the games. That way you can reminisce and just go back and remember all the different enemies and things like that. So a very, very good information resource on the Legend of Zelda franchise. And as we go through the next chapter, we have the archives, notes that are found on each game. Very interesting. We have a plot section where it tells you about the story, just general developer notes, which are very interesting. Shows you the overall map, and we have every game in the series basically here, covering the Super Nintendo, A Link to the Past, one of my favorite games of all time. We have the Game Boy game here, the main characters, renditions, Ocarina of Time here, obviously, and we're gonna move on to Majora's Mask. So everything is laid out in a release by release date kind of fashion here. So very, very interesting how the book is dissected, and again, very enjoyable to just see the general artwork here as we move on to the through the games. Wind Waker here, another favorite game of mine. We have the Game Boy Advance games, the four sword games, and Minish Cap. Just a fantastic resource. Twilight Princess, I absolutely love this game. Really enjoyed the characters in that particular game. So as I'm flipping through, yes, we're gonna get here to the end. A lot of promotional material. covering different regions like Japan. Here we have the Ocarina of Time box and everything. So hey, this is a fantastic resource for hardcore Legend of Zelda fans. Strongly recommended. We have Eiji Aonuma here. I guess yeah, this is some sort of interview. I haven't really read this yet, but overall a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. There's about 330 pages worth of content, so if you guys are a fan of the Legend of Zelda series, this is currently the, I guess, the Triforce of books that I recommend you guys to get from Dark Horse Comics. They are the ones publishing this. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all later.